it's going to be a blue yellow ace versus blue green Luffy. I know you've had a ton of experience on this ace deck, so walk me through what are we trying to do in this game?
Yeah. So one, it's another Whitebeard Pirates leader, right? We've been seeing like a lot of support for that leader in a while. It's kind of like like Black Yellow Luffy of old was kind of like the more like defensive value version. Ace is a little bit more aggressive leaning. We do have the Garp on the rip there, which is really good. I generally think we like going second with this deck, so it's a little bit tough that we did lose that here. But from Ace's effect, we are very good at putting cards like Luffy into our life and then being able to play them off the 2-drop boys, like we just added that 2-drop ace to our hand.
So, and then going in with a two drop and a one, starting off with Daz Bones and Luffy. Luffy looking at that top three for a impel down type of card. We'll see what kind of options he has, right? Especially going into the 4 Dawn turn, could do something like the Ivankov, right, to play out another body on the field, but grabs Buggy. Great to be able to play out a prisoner of impel down in this game, and is just going to pass off the turn. No more 1-drops to play.
Yep. And now we've got 3 Dawn here for Ace. Now, also, like, unironically, I could kind of feel that we could play a 2-drop a little bit early if we were feeling it, since I think the removal is a little bit tough. But we are using our Ace leader ability. So activate main after having 2 Dawn underneath. If we look at the top 5 cards in our deck, put a 5 cost to the top of our life there. So it looks like it's going to be a 5 cost Ace. This is from the best of Volume 2 that released last fall. Going to get a rearrange here, and then also the end of your turn, you have to send all of your face-up cards away. So hopefully it has a way to add that 1-drop or add that there, and we do have the 1-drop Flampe. So not only do we get the ace to our hand, but we get an extra draw for our trouble.
You didn't necessarily put the life face down, but being able essentially with your leader effect to get a draw one ability is not bad by any stretch of the means, especially
Mhm.
ENENE going to go as a 5,000 power swing at lead. Might be a 1K to get out of this attack, still sitting at three, or I'm sorry, 4 life now,
Or like,
I
yeah,
believe. Yes, because we did heal one with the leader effect. This is my first ace game I think I've really watch. So this is going to be a ride and a joy. Luffy going in with the Ivankov to be able to look at that top three for another impel down kind of card. Looks like grabbing the Bond Clay and can play that down off the Ivankov effect to go ahead, draw two, still having the leader effect to restand two.
yeah, and yeah, this ace leader is pretty old. I think he's about 2 years old in this game. Came out in Star Deck 10. The Black Yellow Luffy is usually a little bit more known, a little bit more relevant. I think even Sabo, if pressed, is probably the second most of it. But does have a lot of tools here, and we did get some kind of upgrades, I think, throughout the game. So we do get out of that attack. We are going to take another swing at the ace here. Currently at 3 life. We're kind of okay going down to 2 since we do have some effects that activate based off 2 or less, but it looks like we have a trigger, and it is the event or the event searcher trigger there.
Thank you for loving me. On the trigger is going to draw one card, as you saw right there. So, a good way to help filter out the deck, especially if you don't really see yourself later in this game using it to be able to draw some cards. Just going to utilize Garp to swing at the Dazbones 2000 power on 2000 power. It could be just one card in hand to be able to get rid of this, but lets it go. More often than not, I feel like green purple Luffy players just letting attacks go.
Yeah, and also like being able to get this Flampe out has been very helpful in the fact that it does let us, attack into these smaller bodies too. We're going to spend another one for another copy of the Thank You for Loving Me. This one looks at the top 3 for a Whitebeard Pirates or Luffy and adds the rest. And you place the rest at the top or bottom of your deck in any order. So really helpful for then setting up your leader effect afterwards too.
So it looks like he is going to grab that 5 cost blocker ace from OP07. Very nice card to be able to filter and through the deck and help draw a couple cards. We're going to attach 2 Dawn 2 leader and go ahead with that leader effect, activating the main to look at that top 5 for a 5 cost character to put in. Run so many of them within this deck, whether they're bricks. You see that rush ace from starter deck 10. You see the 2K ace, all 5 costs in there. This deck, a majority of 5 cost characters means that a majority of the time you're going to hit one off your leader effect.
Yeah, and so usually this think means that there might be a good amount of variety for our choice here of what we want to put on the top. And, we're currently at 2 life, but putting the life there with the ace will put us back up to 3.
This would be great if you had like a two cost body of either Ace or Luffy to be able to quote unquote evolve into during this turn with the two Dawn that's left, especially because those would make you a 7,000 power leader through your opponent's turn. That's a strategy that we've seen a ton in this early stages of the format to be able to counter decks like blue, purple Luffy. So we see exactly that to be able to get that ace onto the field. And because we're at 2 life, this ace is going to be a 7,000 power rush character.
Yeah, and real quick, if anyone hasn't kind of seen like Star Deck 10 kind of cards we played, it's a little bit of a unique mechanic, but essentially there's these 2-drop aces and Luffy's. They have this effect of you can trash this leader, reveal 1 card from the top of your deck. If it's a ace or Luffy, depending on which 2-drop you have, with a cost of 5, you can play that card. And if you do, your leader gets 2K power until the end of your opponent's next turn. So Ace was able to attack 7K. The leader was able to be a base 7K and the extra 2 Dawn, another 9. So a lot of aggression and hitting our blue and green Luffy player down to 2 life.
The Bonkure, Mr. 2 is going to be able to match the power of the ace simply because it copies the power of the leader. But especially with this Ivankov here, Ivankov more than likely not going to be able to swing. It needs 3 Dawn at least to be able to swing over at lead and 2 Dawn on the leader to be able to swing. So just 1 Dawn attached is going to go ahead with that 7,000 power attack over at lead, I believe. Is
I
going to
think it's
ask
an 8 because it's base
or
7
it's
and
an 8. Yes, you're
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's gonna ask for a 2K in the hand.
And I'm going to get the Sabo, another one of the 3 brothers here. So just a searchable 2K. Sometimes you need to manipulate your life. So not a bad add to this deck.
So is gonna go with the buggy with the rest of his Dawn to be able to play out that Prisoner of Impel down as a potential blocker during the coming turn. Still has leader effect to be able to utilize. Could play another 2-drop on the field, could just attach the 2, swing and lead to try to get another card out of hand. But maybe thinking about clearing some of these 1-drops on the field, especially if you clear some of these 1-drops on the field in Flampe and Garp, that means that you're going to have to utilize your leader swing or this ace or something of the sort to be able to swing at the Bon Clay on the side. And Bon Clay feels very important within this matchup just to be able to match leader.
Yeah, and we're passing it back, and we're going to 7 Dawn, which honestly is pretty relevant because I do think we have a PRBO2 ace into our hand. So if we do and we add a card face up to our life, we're going to be able to play the 5/7, and it's going to be able to play a 2-drop from our trash. So if we find another like rush ace or like anything like that, we can get like a pretty stellar turn, I think, next turn.
So does find a Luffy within that top 5. Also has a 5-cost ace, one of those blockers from OP07 that we talked about a little bit earlier. So I think does have a Luffy in hand, and Luffy could actually be very nice, right? If you go ahead and do that 2-drop combo with the Luffy into this OP07 Egghead Luffy, you'll be able to remove a cost 4 or less on the board, which could be one of these Bon Clays, which could be the Ivankov. So is a combo that you maybe want to consider, especially now that you fulfill that condition of being at 2 or less life.
Yeah, I think you're right on there with it. I think it would be a little bit better, I think, for us to find an ace there because I don't think there's a 2-drop Luffy in there. So yeah, okay, never mind saying what ace is better. I'd rather get a wider board, and it looks like we're going to play the play with the 5-drop. But starting us off though, I think we're going to start with a 7K from our ace character.
So the 7,000 power, really got to think about where you want to swing, especially with the Bon Clay that's rested. Do you want to go all in on the pressure on this Bon Clay, or do you maybe want to rush down your opponent and try to swing at life? You got a pretty healthy hand size of cards. And so if you can just win the resource war and out aggro them, maybe you'd be able to rush them down.
Yeah, but thinking on the 7, deciding to again ask them what cards do you have in the trash there. We've got a couple 2Ks right now. I think we've got 2 copies of the 2-drop ace in there too. So
Especially
not a
because
lot of
ENENE
information.
Especially because ENENE knows that that 5-cost PRBO2 ace is in the hand because we did the combo of leader effect and Flampe in one of the first turns of the
Mhm,
game.
mhm.
Just really considering all the different options on a matchup that you have to learn on the fly more than likely So ends up going ahead using the buggy effect to make the prisoner a 2K and then uses another 2K to get out of the attack. We'll see the ace come down.
Yeah, and so since we have a face-up life, the on-play lets you play a 2-drop from your trash. Ends up being a 2-drop ace, which we are going to use to play out the 5-drop ace from our life face-up. We're going to give the 2K to our leader, and then it has a effect to draw 2, and then I believe you have to put 2 more either on top or bottom of your life. Yeah, in any order. So that can set up some future plays off of, again, that ace, top 5 leader effect. Since it's too deep as well, you're going to draw for turn next turn, and then what card you want to put in rotation for the leader effect.
It has great flexibility, right? As you're talking about, you can either get rid of two cards or synergize very well with your leader effect. And so after that, still has the leader to be able to swing 9,000 power if he wants to. Really thinking about where he wants to go. Do you want to utilize that 9,000 power swing to clear one of these bodies on the field? And actually goes with the prisoner. So that is a 6,000 power body, is just going to clear it on the attack, pass off the turn. We move on to ENENE's next turn.
Yeah, and like there was a lot of decision making there. If you went into leader, putting them down to 1 makes it kind of scary for them. It means that they might not feel comfortable enough to attack with the prisoners. You could also get like the mildly guaranteed clear of like Blonde Clay as well, because that's also, for 1 Dawn that ends up being an 8K instead of a 7K, like all these 6K bodies, which ends up being important. So yeah, all those attacks felt, there were no like super wrong answers, I felt.
Especially because your rested ace is a 7,000 power character. So it's going to take maybe some freezing effects to really be comfortable getting rid of it because you have a pretty healthy hand size as Sky right now.
All right. And we're going to go again, just a big 8 due to using the copy ability on the 7K there.
Is going to 2K Flampe to get out of the attack. Still sitting with 7 more Dawn, I believe. I believe this is 8 in total that he's got left. Is thinking about attaching one more for this other Bond Clay, more than likely. What does the rest of your turn look like? Especially with Luffy's leader effect. Attached Dawn is not considered rested Dawn. You can't get that back unless the character leaves the field of play in the turn. So really got to think about, when you play something down, what kind of Dawn is going to be utilized for that, and how much Dawn are you going to utilize to swing at this leader?
Yeah, well, yeah, it looks like we're thinking about the buggy. Sorry, it's a little getting a little blurry on my side a little bit, but yeah, just thinking about it. Yeah, going to go 7 with buggy now. 7 to 7. We get rid of a Luffy 2 drop.
Luffy coming out of hand could be really nice setup for a potential Luffy going into the life on the next turn off leader effect. I think we saw the secret rare Luffy from OP15 go
Yeah.
into those top 2 cards. So if you've got a 5-cost ace in the future in your next turn, you could get a rush 7,000 power body onto the field.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty, especially in a deck that likes to use blockers like this crocodile. Like it's pretty fearful for those situations. And again, it gets rushed. Your leader gets the plus 7K. A really good inclusion for a deck like this. So now, I mean, now we're playing a bunch of rush cards in general that you can play off these 2 drops.
So using leader effect and restanding to Dawn has 3 in total left within the turn. More than likely not swinging with the Ivankov. Just going to attach to swing 7 at lead. Just try to ask for another card out of hand. Looks like going to be a 1K ace from OPO7. Still has that 5-cost blocker as active.
Yeah, and maybe thinking about using it for aggression, right? Luffy has 1 Dawn open, 1 blocker, and 2 life. So that could be a bit terrifying. But this could be like a spot where we can start maybe going for game too.
Definitely can get very aggressive with 7 Dawn left over after attaching 2 of your 9 in total for the turn onto the leader. More than likely, probably going to go off with the leader effect first. May actually swing a little bit first just to kind of see how the Luffy reacts to it. Because there could be a situation to where if you start swinging first and your opponent reacts a little differently, maybe you want to go a more defensive route than an offensive route on the turn. So is a bunch of different things that you got to consider right now. But a pretty healthy hand size in 7 from ENENE is going to make this a hard decision, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, asking for Man, it's having so many cards. Again, like blue green Luffy, like deceptively just draws so much and has so much flexibility on its Dawn. It's clear why it's been now. To me, it's now clear. I wasn't immediately sold, but these situations are just like, man, what do I even do? Like, where's the value against a deck that has a wide board, a wide hand, and again has just even a Dawn open right now?
So is going to put that Rush Luffy into the life. The secret rare from OP15. Put the rest to the bottom of the deck. The stack kind of matters within this deck because looking at the top five constantly with leader effect and then doing a little bit more searching and cycling, you could actually cycle through your entire deck. So PRBO2, because you have that face up life on the ace, going to be able to put that Luffy down onto the field and immediately utilize that activate main to get that 5 cost secret rare Luffy from life. Now, with your leader being a 7,000 power leader, you've got that 5 cost Luffy on the field to be able to attack on this turn and really put the aggression on turbo.
Yeah, and so like we can start interacting either with board or into their leader. Depends on like how confident we are that a 7K leader with one life will stay around. The other issue too is that like we have to be careful that if we go too wide and attack with our whole board, electrical Luna, I know you're strong. All these kind of tools that green has to keep these cards sideways could hurt you from trying to go for game the turn afterwards.
We've seen previously in rounds with blue green Luffy's how powerful Electrical Luna is, but starts out with a 9,000 power swing over at the Buggy, is a 6,000 power character. So, gonna have to commit like two 2Ks to get out of the attack, especially because a lot of these counter events that these green or partially green decks are running, their counter only counts towards leader. So, just trying to see, if we can burn the hand a little bit. But ends up getting that knockout buggy leaving the field.
All right, down to 4 on board here. We can attack it into the Bondclave pretty quickly, which looks like we will. Down to 3. We've got 3 more attacks because one of these ace 5/7s was just played this past turn. Gonna go what looks like a big 8 at leader here.
So 8,000 power is not just going to be a counter event to get out of the attack, but it looks like a counter event is going to be given here right now. There's a couple different options that can be played, and it looks like it's going to be Dead Man's Game. So, especially with that 5 cost blocker ace that you have on the field right now, I think Dead Man's Game is going to be pretty good. And just trying to clarify, when exactly the secret rare Luffy effect goes off to be able to boost up power, especially with the Dead Man's Game right now, because
Yeah.
when you activate an effect, you can gain the amount of power by the cost. And it looks like it's a Three Brothers bond in the life. So only 1,000 power, but every little bit helps.
Yeah. One of the I mean, there's no zero cost. So the worst hit you could get, at least power-wise, but obviously an 8K was already very strong, helped you get out of that attack in the first place. So we're not any boost is good, but another 5 would have been really nice.
We wish it could have been a little bit higher, but sometimes, especially as that's an unknown life, that's just what happens sometimes in a deck. But you still have this Luffy to be able to swing with on this turn if you want for at least 8,000 power. Sitting at about 5 cards in hand. More than likely, I think if you swing this, they'll go ahead, maybe take life to go down to 1 just to keep that body or as many bodies as possible on the field right now.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, this will likely the weird thing too is that if you block with Crocodile and you're like, well, I know that they're going to get 9K. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because you're attacking in. You could just attack in the leader too, but um, yeah, I don't know. I think we need to probably hit them down to 1 with this giant 8
The
and get a double
8,000
2K.
Yeah, the 8,000 power swing over at lead is going to ask for a couple cards out of hand from an NA, but he's going to go ahead and take it, go down to 1 life here. Still
Yeah.
sitting with 1 Dawn left open, maybe trying to feign a counter event of his own or something of the sort.
Yeah, and we could, I mean, we could attack with blocker ace if we wanted to, but I think leaving it active is pretty understood. Again, we're down to 1 life. We're a 7K leader, and their board is not usually as wide as I would expect a blue green Luffy to be, but there is also the 2-drop on clay that's on board, which can be pretty nasty at applying pressure.
Yeah, especially that 2 cost There's the 2 cost that, copies the power, right? And there's other
Mhm.
options as well within this deck of, like, Mr. 3s. There's a Mr. 3 that rests a 5 cost or less, could make your blocker sideways. We've already revealed Dead Man's Game as a potential card, and then even stuff like Boa prevents things from being rested, so there's a lot of ways kind of in this deck to be able to neutralize the blocker that you have. Some of them are better than others, but especially with Bon Clay copying power and the Crocodile honestly being 6, there's a couple ways that you can get around this ace blocker right here and make you a little fearful of going for lethal right now.
Just under 10 minutes left in the round, though. Uh, and this is a tough crossroads for Nene, right? It's really like, do I think I need to do one? Do I think I can survive next turn? Right, that's the first question. If the answer is no, you have to kind of go for game, which you have some options to do so, but they're not, I'd say, particularly great. Um, and then if we think we can defend, we can. I think like either Electrical Luna or I know you're strong kind of has to be part of the equation for that to at least get out of some of these attacks. But it is still like a very wide board for Sky right now.
So going in with a 9,000 power swing, right? Two Dawn attached is plus 2,000 power, and the base power of Bon Clay on attacking, if you have a Dawn attached, is going to be the same as the leader. So coming up to 9. It's thinking about blocking right away, right here. And that's an interesting one, especially because now you're asking for the Inazuma to have a lot of Dawn, right? To be able to go in and swing, or maybe just with leader and Luffy. But you mentioned Electrical Luna, the Galdino Mr. 3. We've seen it time and time again in this tournament. It is so good. Stunning one of the characters. It looks like it's going to be one of the 5 cost 7,000 power aces.
Mm, interesting.
I think it
We
was
have
the
to have like
active
a Luna
one.
or something then, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
so surprised that the Luffy wasn't the first target for it.
Especially because you don't have to choose your target on the sun
Mhm.
until after you draw the 2 cards, right?
Yeah,
You may not know exactly which one that you want to actually stun, but if you draw into something like an I Know You're Strong or an Electrical Luna, that could be a pretty easy decision for you on like, okay, I'm going to do the active so he can't attack in the next turn, and then I'm going to stun the rest of the board to nullify them from being able to attack, really only limiting you to 1, maybe 2 swings next turn.
yeah. Also, it hasn't really come up yet, but there is the interesting interaction that Boa does not stun cards named Monkey D. Luffy. There's not many characters like that in the game right now being played, but that Luffy is definitely one of them, and that could have prevented a separate play that we were maybe thinking about. But getting the 2 Dawn back with our leader effect, since we do have the 7 open.
Is going to be 6 Dawn in total for you to be able to work with right
Oh,
now.
yep. My apologies. Six Dawn.
Is going to go ahead, swing 7,000 power at lead, has 4 Dawn left. Could just be like another stun
Yeah,
potentially. Is going to 1K out of that attack with what the community calls the Punch Luffy from starter deck 13. Haven't seen that guy in a while.
I haven't heard that in a long time. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been on vacation, but it's another 7K
And I
going
think
into leader here.
this 7K lead from the Crocodile really signifies that we have some sort of stun effect coming in terms of an event. And getting out of that, there is Electrical Luna. The only way to stun all 3 of those characters on the field is going to keep them as rested. And the active ace cannot attack, especially if there's no rush characters on this turn. I think Sky is in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I am gonna say I'm surprised they attacked with Crocodile. They have to be feeling very confident that they're not gonna lose here. I mean, when we have, I believe, what is that, 7 cards in hand,
Mhm.
uh, I would be mildly confident. Now, numbers aside, if we do a 5 and 7, we get some good numbers. If we happen to use leader effect and we have like a rush character on the top of life and the corresponding 2 drop, that could, represent a little bit more like up hit and damage, but it's is going to be pretty particular for a Nene here to be able to defend it.
So what do you do now at this point? Do you try to control the board a little bit, maybe with your rush swings, but is going to start off attaching the 2 Dawn onto leader, more than likely utilize the activate main, just making sure, you got 8 Dawn left in this game. Kind of feels like we're in the end game stage for this match here. So I think you gotta go with the leader effect, and I think you just gotta see what you have.
Yeah. I mean, best case, if we just split the Dawn, right, with the 5 and 7, that ends up being what, 12? So 22K power. So it'd be like 10, 12 or 11, 11, right?
There's also a little bit of thoughts. I think there's a one cost GARP in the hand.
Mm,
So thinking about the different counts within your deck, especially because with the searching, you've been bottom decking a lot of cards. You're kind of thinking about at this point, okay, what are the odds that I see X card?
mhm.
Right. And so it could be a situation to where you're trying to think about what the odds are of a 5 cost rush ace or rush Luffy could be in your deck to be able to find off the top five. And then maybe what are the odds to find the corresponding 2 cost version of that character that you
Yeah.
could maybe get off the GARP if you don't have that corresponding one in hand. So really interesting and one of those kind of little things that players need to know in terms of the counts and percentages of, likelihoods, especially for a deck that churns through so much like this ace does.
Yeah. And definitely taking a minute to think. And I understand this is maybe their last turn here.
Mhm.
And looks like we are going to play out the GARP here to likely try to find a two drop. I do see a two drop ace and a two drop Luffy off
Two
the five.
Yeah, I think there's 2 aces and 1 Luffy.
Yeah.
There is also a 5 cost rush ace, which is in this five, which I think is important to note if you're trying to do that combination of
Yeah.
like GARP find a 2 drop and leader effect find a 5 drop. So now you got to think about, okay, I'm bottom decking one of the ace. What's the likelihood that if I grab an ace, I can find an ace target? Am I more likely to find a Luffy target? And he's grabbing the Luffy. So I think he's more confident off this top five of finding a Luffy.
Yeah. All right, using the leader effect. One, two, three, four, and five. We
Oh, he
see a
found an
rush
ace.
ace, but not. I don't think we see a rush Luffy. That is tough because I don't think
Yeah.
we have another rush ace. I think we've got two in the trash, and we just bottom deck two more. So it's a tough call to make. And that's like the biggest thing with this deck is that like you have to hard commit to one. If you see the other, you just feel so bad about it.
And so now what is the best case scenario for you? What can you do at this point to try to salvage this game? Obviously, you got to put a 5 cost in the life because you want to put one anyways. Do you have a way to get the life, right? With something like another Flampe or something like that, but goes in with the rush ace, and we'll see if he's got a way to flip over that life at the end of the turn. Might try to go in with a little bit more searching potentially. He's doing some counts in his hand. But this is one of the things where I think blue green Luffy is such a good deck within this format, right? Just having well timed stun effects of such a variety, right? Whether it's the I Know You're Strong, the Electrical Luna, the Mr. 3, one of the best stun cards that we have in the game right now. I think there's just so much versatility within this deck to where like you can just really stunt an opponent, especially in a more low to the ground situation or mid game, I should say, situation like Sky is playing with a deck such as this that makes it so formidable in this format.
Yeah. Also, Jake, I'm not sure if I might have missed this. You might not have. The activates can that I don't believe that card can attack. Is that right?
The what?
The
No,
activate.
the active ace was stunned by the Mr. 3.
Yeah, my apologies. I thought we hit the rested ace right next to it, and then we were setting up for a I know you're strong. So that
No, no,
was on
no.
me because I in my mental I was like, oh, we can have the attack of five. Both these attacks are there, so that's on me for that one. So I like having dice on my things to make sure that things are clear on what can attack and not. So yeah, the active ace can also not attack here, so that obviously changes the dynamic of this turn. But saying a blocker is nice. We do get the removal there. If we do have a copy of like the Zeus, that could also be something where we're not technically losing a life. But yeah, with that being an ace and not a Luffy, that kind of stunts that turn a little bit. And we're going back to an ENENE here.
And I think this is kind of like your best case scenario, right? Of that you have to work with. Getting that blocker on the field is nice because now it forces them to remove the blocker in some capacity and swing the right numbers in total. So starting out with a 5,000 power swing on the Ivankov. It's just going to be one card to get out. It is going to be that OPO7 Luffy. Now it's going to be a little bit harder to be able to get that lethal, right? Especially with that blocker still up on the field in one life. Does he have a way to get there?
Yeah, I mean, and this is tough because like we've been as like a 7K leader for most of this game, but now on like arguably the most important turn to be a 7K leader, we're back down to a 5K. And again, I've played a good amount of this A stack, and this happens way too often where I'm like, I just need one more hit, and it just doesn't get there, and now I'm just like panicking as a 5K.
And this is a really interesting situation that you present, right? And there's the Brook. That's one of the ways to get around the blocker to be able to rest any one of Sky's cards. Choosing that blocker is now going to go 5,000 power. Lead is going to be a 1K out of the attack. Now attaching the rest of the Dawn onto the Crocodile. Going to be a 9,000 power swing. Going to go ahead and take the life. And now utilizing the Brook's activate main to restand an 8 cost or less. Will use leader effect to get 2 more active Dawns. Swing 11,000 power and is going to be the winner of this game. Brook was one of the exact cards that he